I think it is pretty obvious that the industries that will face the brunt of this slowdown or recession, which is due to the outbreak of this virus, are definitely the tourism industry and also our manufacturing, textiles manufacturing industry. But I would say also our construction sector, in the sense that our high-end properties that we sell to foreigners. Now, it's important to note that the tourism sector, if you take into consideration the hotel industry, as well as all the ancillary businesses that make up the tourism industry, account for approximately, I would say, around 25% of GDP, right? So if we were to say that this industry will face, a slowdown for at least a minimum of 12 months, but that could go beyond, let's say, 12 months to around 18 to 24 months, then that is a colossal figure. As you're aware, the biggest providers of tourists to Mauritius is mainland Europe. And as you have seen with a number of countries in Europe, the impact is massive. The question is, when will these people actually be ready to travel again for holidays? I think that will take a lot of time. If these sectors are impacted, then consumption in the country, our way of living, will definitely be impacted as well. And we will have to bear in mind that there will be sacrifices that will have to be made. Our way of living, our patterns of spending will probably not be the same as well. On Friday, the 10th of April, so last Friday, we had a 6 months treasury bills, government treasury bill issuance in the market. And the yields for that went as low as 0.5% per annum. Now, these are all-time lows that we're experiencing in Mauritius. Okay, we've never had yields so low. It's probably a function of the excess liquidity that we've had, but also maybe a flight to safety. Now, talking about excess liquidity, it's important to note that according to our figures, what we see is that the outstanding debt levels in Mauritius at the moment, issued by both government and the central bank, amounts to approximately 370 billion Mauritian rupees. And out of that, around 30%, so let's say around 100 billion rupees, have actually been raised or borrowed by the central bank. Now, this is extremely important to note, because this means that if there is a shortage, if ever there is a shortage of liquidity in the Mauritian rupee market, then the central bank is able to deploy that liquidity back into the system, either by buying back those bonds or treasury bills, or using it in a different fashion to help the government sustain the economy and help bail out probably some businesses as well as we go along. We have lived through a period of, I would say, since 2008 approximately, where we've had a lot of excess liquidity in Mauritian rupees. Now, this has happened as a result of the economy flourishing, as a result of a lot of foreign currency coming in through FDI, and the central bank has done a very intelligent thing by taking, soaking up this excess liquidity that today can be put to use to sustain this economy as we move forward. Once you have a shortfall of foreign currency, because some of the main sectors of the economy are facing a massive issue, tourism, textiles manufacturing, the construction sector in terms of our sale of properties to foreigners, then obviously there would be a shortfall in foreign currency. And when there is a shortfall in foreign currency, it's very normal that our local currency would depreciate. Now, this is not a phenomenon that is only in Mauritius, but we've seen it across emerging market currencies in the world over the last month or so, I would say, since the outbreak of the coronavirus. Now, what happens is that, according to the research that we've done, which is done on an ongoing basis, if you have a look at the past 12 months or so, Inflows and outflows of foreign currency have been in the region of approximately $450 to $500 million either side. So $500 million of inflows and $500 million of outflows. Now, given that we expect, and it's already started, that inflows from the tourism industry, from textiles manufacturing, and from the property business has slowed down or has come to quasi-zero, and this trend is likely to continue for the next 12 to 24 months, at least I would say, then it is highly likely that this will impact on the Mauritian rupee. There will be pressure on the Mauritian rupee to depreciate, which is very normal. And I think the most important thing is that we will need to realize that our consumption levels, as I said earlier, will need to decrease as well. We will probably have to sacrifice to a certain extent. In all likelihood, it's highly likely that what will happen will be that our import levels as well will most probably come down by 35 to 40%. Because if you have a look at these sectors that bring you foreign currency, you're talking anywhere between 30 to 35% of the inflows that we get on a monthly basis. Having said that, it is important to note that our reserves, our country's reserves, amount to approximately $7.2 billion right now. Okay, and this of course is managed by the central bank. Now, $7.2 billion in normal market situations amounts to approximately 12-13 months of imports. Okay, now if our consumption levels decrease, definitely this would amount to represent more months of imports. Therefore, the ammunition is there from the central bank to sustain especially sectors, imports that are essential to our consumption needs. Okay, so that is important to bear in mind. Now, we also need to note that the sugar sector will still be a supplier of foreign currency because sugar is needed in places like Europe or anywhere in the world. So those exports will happen. The other thing also to note is that we also have the global business sector, which brings in a lot of foreign currency as well. I know the confinement and us having to stay at home creates a lot of anxiety as well. A lot of questions in our minds as to what's going to happen to the economy, what's going to happen to our savings, what's going to happen to our jobs, etc. I think we in Mauritius have always bounced back and have always done extremely well to reinvent ourselves. I'm not saying that we have to reinvent ourselves now, but what I'm saying is that now more than ever, all the stakeholders in the economy need to come together to really plan a proper economic recovery going forward. It's going to be tough, right? It's going to be tough times, but I have no doubt at all that if we all put our heads together, we will come out of this. I think we've already seen over the last few days how the infected levels have come down. And if we come together and if we do it for our country, everything and anything is possible. Thank you.